Welcome to Grandpa Sees the Blinking. Yep, Grandpa Sees Blinking. Okay, so, Lord, I ask that you bless this live stream. I ask that you help me to make it entertaining and fruitful to all those who listen. In Jesus' holy name, amen. That's a good prayer for what Grandpa's doing. So, okay, where are we? We're going to do a recap here of the events of back probably 10 days in the blinking. Grandpa sees the blinking. Don't take anything that Grandpa says as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm a grandpa that sees blinking. Okay, so all that being said, what happened today? So, in the blinking, on the buying side, the market makers away from the range they started out pre-market buying at 242.97 times 1. That one is 100 shares per blink, and they were blinking 20-30 blinks a minute, but they didn't do it for too awful long. Then as soon as the market opened, they went to 243.11 buying times 1, and they did that for a little bit. Then they went to 251 times 2. That's 200 shares a blink. And then they stabilized around the 945 area. Excuse me. And so 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And then they started blinking at 244.64 times 1, which became the most important number of the day for the buying positions. They virtually went back and forth to that throughout the day. When they drove it down, they used that number to do it, 244.64 times 1. Yesterday they used the number 250.80 to take it down when they wanted to. Just prior to the high of the day, which was about 3:45, was 261.18. Tesla closed at 258.08. And Tesla closed at 258.08. The high of the day was 261.18, which is at 3:45. And the low of the day was 255.05. So, let's get, what did I do with that other? Grandpa's got to get more organized. So, where was I? I'm supposed to keep this shorter video. I would like to do, but Grandpa has a hard time figuring out what he's talking about. Okay, so anyway, that's the buying of the day, and when they bought down below, it would pull it towards it. Prime example would be the last 10 minutes of the day. From 350 on, all the shorting up above the price point paused, and 244.64 times 1, blinking about 30-40 times a minute, gave us a massive, looks like good size bear flag. She plummeted What did it plummet? Let me look. It went down about approximately 257.40 from 261.18. That's pretty good for 15 minutes. So anyway, on the sell side today, it's very exciting. 271.50 pre-market shorting times 1, and they were going at it pretty good. 271.93 pre-market shorting, and once 9:45 came, they stabilized, and so they were doing 261 times 1 for a period of time. Then they bounced her up to 271.93 times 1. Keep in mind that's 100 shares per blink, 30 or 40 of them per minute. They did that for a period of time. Then they dropped her down to 268 times 2, 200 shares a blink. Then they went to 265 times 1. Then they went back up to 267 times 1, 262 times 1, 262 times 2. That's 200 shares a blink, and they're shorting. All these numbers I'm telling you, they are shorting. 267 times 1, 262 times 3, that's 300 shares a blink, and that has a tendency to pull it up, but that's not what pulled this up close to, I'll tell you what did. 262 times 3, 266, 63 times 1's probably more information than you need. And then 262 times 6, that's 600 shares a blink, and it started doing that at 3 o'clock, and she pulled, they're shorting, keep in mind, they're shorting 600 shares a blink, 30 to 40 times, but it only did it for 5 minutes. So, but it pulled Tesla straight up. And then it went to 262 times 3. At 340, they did some 265s times 2. And they've virtually been at most of these numbers already before, except the 271.93 is more of a high one. Okay, so then we have at 345, 267 times 1 short, and then they did a 275. Now that's a new high mark for the short side, which is important to all us people that are watching the blinking, because wherever the blinking has occurred, the market makers will get to it. They show us where they're going in advance. Where they buy down below, they will return there. They have to return there because they're buying away from the price point. When they sell or short up above, they have to return there. They have to finally get the price to go there where they're doing their thing, and they provide the liquidity for the market by the way they run it. But what it does is, if you can see the blinking like Grandpa, you can tell, not necessarily for sure where they're going to go to first all the time, but you will at least know that they're going to go there. So I'll give you a little bit of a recap. 10 days ago, let's see. And remember, all good things are from the Lord. Let's see. 10 days ago, we started doing our higher highs and higher lows with market makers. The market makers have been making higher highs and higher lows for 10 days. I'm going to tell you something right now. 268.80 is shorting times 1 after hours. I see no buying, and that tells me that this little red drop we have here, at least after hours or maybe pre-market tomorrow, we're gonna bounce. We are gonna bounce. They're even doing a little bit up at 286. But don't put much stock in that because it's very little. But they are blinking at 268.80 short. And but we already know it's going there because they did 271.50 all day yesterday. So I'll start on the buying side. 10 days ago, on a Tuesday, the market makers were buying at 209.80 for about half the day, and they were also buying at 205 for a couple hours, but not no big deal there. But will it go to those numbers? Does Grandpa think that it's going to go there? I absolutely do. Do I know when? No. I think it will be within a 2-month period of time from 10 days ago, because that's the longest I've seen them take. Usually to get to where they're buying out of range, they usually manage to do it approximately 97% of the time. They fill everything out of range that they've done in the first 3 days, within a 3-day period, and almost all of it within a week. But there is, and sometimes it's a lot that they leave hanging out there for as much as 2 months before they get around to getting to it. But in all the time that I've been tracking the blinking, seems to me like they virtually cover everything that they do. They get to it. And so that tells Grandpa that we're going to see 205 eventually. We're going to see 209.80. And then above that, I'm really excited about this one. 224 and 225 area. They virtually bought there for almost 4 days in a row. Buying. And the price at that time was much above that price. It hasn't gone back down there yet. We're going to see all these numbers. 231. They spent a day doing that. Then they went to they did 229 and 230. They did 243 area and 244. They're doing that now again. And then yesterday they did 250.80, which was 10 or 20 cents above the low of the day. And after it went to the low of the day, they started buying at that price, and they just continued. And I tell you what, I'd like to buy some shares there. I hope they drive it back down to 250 so Grandpa can get some more stuff. Because on the shorting side, and that's where been heading for 10 days, because you can see the lows have all gotten higher, and on the buying side, not long back here, they were shorting in the 250 range, and then they started shorting at 260. And I think it was just yesterday, when it was down at 250, I seen them shorting massively at 260, and I said it in one of my videos, hey, these guys they're going to blow through 260, and sure enough, they went up to 260.50. Truthfully, I thought they were going to blow out 262 yesterday, but they didn't. But they will, and so they shorted at 263 yesterday, 265, and the evening before they shorted at 265. 267.60 was a big number yesterday that they were shorting. They shorted that thing almost all day at that price. You know, can it take a dive down to 250 and come back up there again? Absolutely it can. Okay, they're going to cover all these numbers. It's just to get the sequence in order. But so far, we haven't really got a great indication of them doing anything more than a retracement. Grandpa would like to see them go down to 250 area so it can get more shares and stuff like that, and so would Grandma. But on the other hand, it can keep going up. I got plenty. Grandpa just making a killing. This blinking is really good. They're shorting at 286.35 after hours right now, times one. They're not doing nothing big. Probably, truthfully, they're probably doing 1,000 shares a minute, something like that. No big deal. But right now, 286.35 is shorting. And that tells me that 286.35 is in our future. It is absolutely in our future. Grandpa loves to do the blink. I see blinking everywhere. It's a question to know what blinking is pertinent to us. So, okay, how long have I talked here? Does anybody know? Why don't nobody ever tell Grandpa what I'm doing? I think I've talked too long. Okay, I'm going to be back tomorrow morning at approximately 9:45. And if I do see something really dramatic during the day, I do a video or live stream, at 9:45, and then another one at 4. Markets are closed on Monday. Labor Day, we're going to go watch fireworks. And so I'll see you tomorrow morning, and we'll see what happened overnight. And thank you for watching. Oh, what do they always say? Oh, push the like button and subscribe. I get a bang out of it. Okay, so I gotta figure out what button I'm touching here. I hope I didn't forget anything, and I hope this was helpful to all of you. See you tomorrow morning. Bye.